Hi, Prof. Gatbunton, are you there?
Hi, Ma'am Hazel. Good afternoon. And good afternoon po sa lahat. I hope that you are okay. So let me just share my screen. Right, so confirming visuals po. Can you see it now?
Yes, po, Doc.
All right, thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone. And thank you again for inviting me for this part 2 of our research and analysis simplified session. Okay, so this afternoon, I'll be presenting research writing standards and research ethics. All right. So I hope that this afternoon we will learn how do what are some of the common standards that we are using when writing research, and what are the ethical principles that we need to observe when we try to write, or try to implement a research project. Okay. So So in this particular, when we talk of research standards or in the standards of research writing, there's a myriad, napakaraming standards ang presently ginagamit in any institution or in any practice or in any profession. So hindi natin masasabi na there's only one standard that we apply in any research setting. Okay, but in my experience and in what I have observed, if we look into the standards that we encounter in different forum, in many fora, we can classify the standards in terms of structure, or the way we write our paper, and the structure or the standards that refers to your style or how you write your paper. So there are two major classification of standards, na mau-observe mo when you try to look into the standards of research writing. Kasi nga sabi nga natin, there's no really standard that can be said na standard all throughout. Pero may mga na-observe. So in terms of structure, there are two major structure standards na mau-observe mo in all papers, all research papers. The one is yung tinatawag na thesis style. I think we discussed this the last time, last week. It's the Germanic model of writing your paper, or the thesis style. Now this form is the elaborate form because it elaborates, it expounds the contents of your paper into your preliminaries. Usually, nagko-contain niya ng preliminaries, where it contains your title page, acknowledgement, table of contents, the list of figures and tables, pati abstract nandyan. Tapos, it will be contained or to be followed by the body of the research, which contains your chapters 1 to 5. Again, yung chapters 1 to 5 na ito contains also detailed subsections. Like for chapter 1, napakaraming subsection. May introduction, statement of the problem, research objectives, etc. Ganun din sa chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5. Tapos, susundan niya ng supplemental pages sa thesis style. Magkakaroon ng bibliography, appendices, nakasulat din dyan. Okay? And the curriculum vitae of the researcher. Okay? So usually, yun yung kadalasang contents ng Germanic model or your thesis style. Now this is called the elaborate form. This is the elaborate form because it's very detailed. A content, or all of the details of your studies, kaliit-liit ang detalye nakasulat sa thesis style of writing. It's because number one, it's meant to be used for students, to help them understand better the process of writing a research paper or a research project. Okay, so kung maaalala ninyo, nung kayo ay nag-aaral sa college, if you can recall, gumawa tayo ng ganito. Okay? Now, iba na po in a professional setting, no, in a professional setting and in a professional setting, ang nire-require na ngayon ay yung condensed form of writing your paper, no, or your manuscript style. Tinatawag din itong IMRAD model. Okay. Now, this is called condensed form kasi pinaiikli, no, kino-condense yung contents ng detailed paper, this one, detailed paper, into a more condensed form, summarized form, usually around 3,500 to 5,000, no, words. Okay? Inclusive na doon po yung ating title page, introduction, methods, results and discussion, pati na rin yung conclusion ninyo, and excluding naman yung references. Now, the IMRAD model is meant for publication. No? Well, professionally, all researches, no, ang aim naman talaga is to publish and disseminate our findings. So, in a professional paper, kadalasan pinaiikli yung contents ng detailed research, no? Okay? So the most important part, no, of your paper when you condense it should always be your results and discussion. Siyempre, you're trying to communicate your findings to a group of people or to a larger audience. So your results and discussion should comprise the bulk, no, of your 3,500 to 5,000 words, no. So this is your IMRAD model. Okay. Now, the main difference, no, or the main procedural change. Okay, the main procedural change when converting your thesis style manuscript, no, to manuscript style. Okay, is this, no? Yung thesis style, very long yung kanyang literature review. Okay, and that there are headings that are like definitions. But when we try to convert it, to change it into a manuscript form, we just summarize the literature review. Okay? Tapos sa thesis style, ginagawa natin dyan, nagfo-focus tayo on the past, no? But in the manuscript style, you focus or write your paper in the future, no? That with concern to the future. Now, the thesis style is also a detailed description of statistical measure. You have to provide it there, no? Ano yung mga gagamitin mong statistical measure. But in the manuscript style, dahil limited lang yung ating characters and words and word limit, no? Ine-explain lang natin ng very briefly. Okay? So this part, no, on the thesis style, there's a short implication section. But on the manuscript style, doon sa ating IMRAD model, we dwell more on the detailed implications sa section. Okay? So sabi nga natin, in the thesis style of writing your paper, you focus on school requirements. Ginagamit po yan sa eskwelahan. Pero kayo po bilang professionals, no, you target your paper, you target your findings, your research to a more concerned audience, no, to your readers, to your target readers, right? So in the thesis style, we also have an excessive use of references, no? Ultimo, research design, ginagawa natin ng reference, no? Kasi we want to make sure that the student understood, no, what they did or bakit nila ginamit yung particular na research design. Pero sa manuscript style, dahil limited ka nga, no? You try to minimize, no, the references that you have, no? Or particularly yung kailangan mo lang. Okay, yung kailangan mo lang. So the references is also in school style and in academic in nature ang pagsusulat, no? Sa manuscript style, Scholarly, yes, pero hindi yung parang nagdi-dictate ka or not in a pedantic style, no? It's like you're exhorting, it's like you're telling what are your findings, yet you have to minimize it. Okay? Sa thesis style, yung pakapalan na papel, excessive number of charts, no? Maraming charts, maraming tables, pero pagdating sa manuscript style, paiikliin mo siya. Kasi ang requirement lang, targeting mo siya ng 10 to 20 pages long. Okay? Now, in terms of your in terms of writing your research projects, no, I discourage the use of the thesis style, no. Do away with this one. Huwag na po tayong gumamit nito kasi number one, you're professionals, you know what you're doing, and you are capable of doing doing research, no. So we proceed with the manuscript style. Simulan na lang po natin sa manuscript style because this will be counterproductive when we use the thesis style, yung longer version or the elaborate form, because it will consume too much of your time, extra time na nga or extra work na nga ang research, no? So to make us more productive, we try to make it in the manuscript style, no? Now the manuscript style is also one way to ready your paper, to be publishable, to become publishable. So you're hitting two birds with one stone. Nakapag-research ka na, makakapag-publish ka pa. So hindi mo na uulitin yung proseso nito ng pag-convert ng research to this one. Okay? So that's one tip, no, kung para makapagsulat tayo ng mas mabilis, no, mas comprehensive, and also to be more productive in doing research, no? We do away na with the thesis style. Dito na po tayo sa manuscript style. Alright? And a better way to write our manuscript style or prepare our research project in the manuscript style is to utilize, no, or to follow the 7th edition of the APA format, no, or the APA guidelines. Okay, APA stands for American Psychological Association, no, wherein they elaborated some guidelines in writing your paper in terms of the general guidelines, no, major sections, kung ano yung content ng papel, at yung citations ninyo kung paano niyo siya susulatin, no. There are other styling standards. Meron pa pong ibang styling standards, no. Meron po ginagamit MLA, no. And hindi po siya karaniwan, or actually karaniwan din po ang MLA. But in the health profession, tulad po natin, in the health profession, madalas pong ginagamit ang APA, no? Alright? The MLA is usually ginagamit in the humanities area, no? Some departments in the government are also using MLA. I think the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, no, is using MLA in their publications. Okay, so parang when I learned it because I tried to submit a paper there, but when I see their requirements for styling, medyo nanibago po ako kasi hindi ako sanay magsulat ng MLA, no, because I'm a health professional. I tried using I am used, no, to working on using the APA styling standard, no. Now, the APA 7th edition is the latest edition in publishing or in writing professional papers in the health science, no. Recent lang po yan, itong 2021 lang, no. Ano ko po nalaman kasi when I was writing my paper for publication, naabutan ako ng APA 7, no. So kalagitnaan ng revision ng paper ko, biglang dumating yung binalik sa akin ng reviewer yung aking papel for publication. Sabi sa akin, you do APA 7th edition, no? In the process of approval na siya. So I repeated doing my paper. So recent lang po yan. Netong February lang ata or January, lumabas ang 7th edition. Now, what are the contents, no, of the APA 7th edition 7th edition guideline? In terms of the general guidelines, nilalayout po dito kung paano po ang magiging itsura ng papel ninyo. Okay? So the EPA 7th General Guidelines specify or recommends the use of your letter size of paper or your 8.5 by 11 inches paper. No? And specific po yan, 1 inch dapat margin on all sides. Okay? There should be a page header at the top of each page. Yung page header po ninyo should be the title of your research. No? Shortened, dapat shortened title of not more than 50 characters, and it should be flushed left, no? Naka-align left. And that the page number starts with 1, tapos yung page number naman nakadikit sa right or flushed right. Now in terms of font and paragraph, dapat legible po ang font, no? APA recommends yung mga hindi maaarteng font, no? Wag po yung mga dikit-dikit, wag po yung mga cursive. Ang gagamitin po, usually ginagamit dyan, Calibri, yung commonly used, Calibri, merong Arial, okay? Times New Roman, no? Basta it's easily readable, madaling mabasa at madaling ma-identify ang period sa comma, no? Why? Because it's one of the things na tinitignan ng mga editors, ng mga reviewers, no, yung comma, yung period. So if your period cannot be distinguished with the comma using your font, you better change it, no? You better change it. So APA says it's nothing fancy. You should not use nothing fancy, and you use the commonly used font. Yun nga, yung mga binigay natin. Usually around size 12 or 11 pwede na rin. And that it should be double spaced. Double spaced dahil hindi po dahil para kumapal, no, yung papel, kundi para po mas madaling mabasa kapag nire-review yung papel. So it should be double spaced. Okay? And it should be flushed left as well. So aligned left. Right. So how does a title page looks like kapag sa isang research paper, no? Or using the APA 7. So this one is an example of what I did, no? What on a certain study, no? With this title, Comparison of Research Instructional Methodology Among Allied Health Programs, no? By the way, when you try to formulate your title, ang recommendation ng APA is that we limit it to 12 words, no? Not more than 12 words. Okay? So dapat mapagkasya mo within 12 words yung title mo. So alisin mo na yung mga unnecessary words like a study, no? A comparison, no? Well, actually ako nalagyan ko pa ng comparison, no? Pero tinanggap naman. Alisin mo na rin yung descriptive correlation, something like that, no? So you have to shorten your title, no? As comprehensively as possible. Okay? So your title will look like this, should look like this, or your title page should look like this. Okay? Wala naman pong specification kung ilang nilalagay ditong walang specify na spaces sa paglalagay dito sa mga yan, basta nakagitna, no? Usually dapat nakagitna para naman for aesthetic reasons. Okay? Ngayon, we also place the shortened title, no? Not more than 50 characters, all caps, at the upper as a header, and as well as yung page number in here. And then, at the bottom, you place here any identifier, no, doon sa inyong author. Okay? Usually, sa mga pinagpapasahan ko or sa mga nagre-review ng papel ko, I also include my ORCID ID. No, this is an ID for those who are doing research, no, for easy accessibility ng inyong mga papel, no. At kapag na-open nila to, makita nila yung mga references ninyo, no, and as well as your CV. Okay? Tapos i-declare din po dito yung conflict of interest, no. Pag sinabing conflict of interest, kung mayroong funding, okay, and also any conflicting interest, no, ng mga stakeholders ninyo, ng mga nag-sponsors ng study ninyo, at sa magpapublish ng papel ninyo. Dito nyo po siya i-declare. Alright? And also your corresponding email. Ilalagay nyo rin po dyan because it's one way to contact you whenever they have questions, clarifications with your study. So this is one. No? This is how your title page looks like. Now, going further, the next sections of your paper correspond to the manuscript style of writing. No? APA recommends that your paper should have an abstract and a main body. So sa abstract, nakalagay po doon yung inyong summary ng study na ginawa ninyo. Kung yan ay proposal, ilalagay niyo yung summary ng pinopropose ninyong study. Okay? In other institutions, they call it executive summary. So it's either of the two, pwede mong gamitin as long as you comply, no, with research standards of your institution. No? APA says that it should not be more than 250 words and that you keep in the salient points lamang. Yun lang po ang ilalagay sa ating abstract. No? The technique here is that I usually put my abstract na sa 250 words. No? 10% lamang for the introduction, 10% ng words sa methodology, tapos the bulk of my paper, usually around 60 to 80% for my results and discussion. Okay? And lastly, and the remaining part will be for my recommendation. So the point here is that we write our abstract in such a way that the contents, no, the contents or the findings of your study will be highlighted, no, kahit abstract lang yung basahin. Okay? Kasi minsan our paper might be published, no, in paid journals, no. What do we mean? Yung subscription journals, okay? Nangunguna na dyan yung mga journals na nasa Science Direct. No? If wala kang subscription at hindi siya open access, ibig sabihin hindi mo siya makikita kahit walang bayad. No? Hindi mo makikita walang bayad. Kapag binasa mo yung abstract, alam mo na yung content ng study na yon. So the point of abstract is to highlight, no, the major output, no, ng study mo. Okay? So that's why we need to focus more on the results of your study when you write your abstract. And then, according to APA, your paper should contain your main body. No? The main body, which contains your introduction, okay, binanggit na natin to, methodology, and your results and discussion. The most difficult part to write in the body of your paper is yung results and discussion. No? Bakit? Because describing your results and making implications, no, hence you're discussing your findings, will require much of your creativity. No? Because sabihin na natin, not all of us, no, are talented, no, in writing. Okay? I for one have difficulty in writing sometimes, no? Lalo na pag inaatake tayo ng tinatawag na writer's block. No? So the most challenging part here to write will always be your results and discussion. Okay? Lalo na kapag yung results, no, hindi naman tayo familiar lalo na pag ang results natin ay quantitative in nature, mga numbers. Then we require statistical testing, etc. and the likes. No? Then the results, no, might not be, the way we write results may not be our cup of tea. Okay? May not be our cup of tea. Hence, matatagalan tayo sa pagsusulat and the likes. No? So here's a look, no, of an abstract. Ito medyo mahaba yung abstract ko. Lumagpas yata ito ng 250 words. No? Kasi ang daming factors na in-examine. Okay? So pansinin po ninyo, mga 1 sentence, 2 sentences lang po yung IM ko, yung introduction and methodology. But the bulk, no, of the findings, okay, no, yung bulk ng aking abstract ay nakafocus sa findings. And the conclusion is this part. No? So that way, I highlighted the parts na kailangan i-highlight para sa aking papel. No? Pwede nyo rin pong ilagay dyan yung results, no? Yung findings ninyo. Para at least malaman nila kung ano yung mga values na tinitingnan ninyo and the likes. Okay? Now we go to the next part of your citation of the APA guidelines, no, in writing your paper, which is your APA 7th citation. Here's an example of a citation ng isang research journal na online. Okay? So I think we would not want, no, to memorize. We do not want to memorize, no, the contents or the way we write our APA format in tawag ba ito? In detail, no, ng manual na pagsusulat ng APA citation. May mga tools po niyan. May mga tools po na makikita online, no? You can use Mendeley, you can use easybib.com, no? Merong online, and meron din ang Microsoft Word, no? Microsoft Word has this function in the references, no, that you can use, no, to write, no, to easily generate your citation or your references. Okay? So pwede niyo pong i-explore 'yon, yung part na 'yon. Pwede rin po yung pwede rin niyo pong you do it on your own. Okay. Now, one major change in the APA 7th citation, I would like to focus lang sa number of authors, no? Kasi dati in the APA 7 in the APA 6th edition, ang number of authors para isulat mo siya ng buo, as in lahat ng authors, ay 7, no? Hanggang 7. If your authors exceeded hanggang ng 7, no, gagamit ka na ng ellipsis, no, tapos yung last author, or you write et al, no, pagdating sa citation. But in the APA 7th edition, okay, in-increase na po yung number of authors na isusulat from 7, ginawa na po siyang 20. No? So a maximum of 20. So ibig sabihin, iisa-isa niyo talaga lahat ng authors kung group research yan. No? Iisa-isahin niyo siya. And then also, one major change in the APA 7th edition is that your DOI, kasi lahat ng mga journals ngayon, meron na yung DOI. DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier. No? Now, the DOI is one way to make sure that your paper is really existing in the internet. No? So it's one way to be, one sure way to check whether tama ba yung sinulat ng citation. And the APA 7 citation requires that your DOI should be a live link, no? A live link. So this one is a live link. Okay? That when you submit it to the reviewer, when they click this will direct it to the browser will direct the reviewer doon sa actual paper na sinite mo. So yan ang major additional, no? Additional in the format, no, of your citation, of your references using the APA 7th edition. So yun po. More than 20, pwede nang include lahat dito. Or within 20 count of authors, pwede nang isulat ng isa-isa. Okay? At may dagdag din na DOI na live link. Dati kasi ang sinusulat lang natin, meron naman dating DOI na dinadagdag sa APA 6, no? Pero sinusulat lang dyan, DOI, tapos colon, and then ito, yung 6-digit identifier niya. So, ito yon. Tapos yung link na to, this part lang. Eh, hindi kasi siya live link. So, to make it a live link, dapat yun ito. No? Include mo yung buo when you write your paper. And make sure it's clickable or it's in hyperlink. Okay? So here's my since I discussed now everything, no? I discussed na everything when it comes to structure and style. All right? So here's a little sharing of my personal experience when I'm writing my paper, no? Just to sum up what we have discussed no, from last week and up to this week, no. So I would like to make it in edition para lang medyo nakakatawa, no, kasi medyo minsan masakit yung experience ng pagsusulat ng paper, pero gawin na lang natin katatawanan para masaya. So this one, no. Okay. So when you write a research, it's actually a shadow lingering at your back, no. When you're tasked to do research, and you have deadline, no. Your research work is actually like a shadow lingering in your mind, disturbing and lurking, no, na dapat mo siyang masulat. Okay? Now, the goal of your, let me share lang this na what I have learned, that the goal of your first draft, you know, the first draft of your paper, the first draft of your proposal is actually, is not actually about writing it perfectly at the first write, no? At the first output. Hindi yun po ang goal natin. The goal of the first draft or the first output is actually do the work itself. Maisulat mo yung research, maisulat mo yung proposal. No? So the goal of your first draft is to write it down. No? At kapag naisulat mo na siya, no, be open into be open, no, into critiquing your paper, no. Be open into critiquing your paper. Now, ang kalaban po natin sa pagsusulat ng research paper ay procrastination, no. Procrastination, no? If it's a job, no, for us researchers, yayaman siguro ho kami. Some papers take really long time, no, to start, no, to write, kasi it requires some creativity in you. It gets the pitch out of you. It requires energy from you, and not all the times you have the energy to write it, no. Not all the times you're in the mood to write it, and not all the times you're creative. Sometimes you just want to relax, like Mr. Krabs, no. And just think of your normal work or normal life, no? Okay? So procrastination po talaga. Even I am also hindi ko aaminin ko rin, I'm also I tend to procrastinate also my research projects kapag hindi ko feel, no? That's why sometimes I take time, no, to publish papers, to complete my research, etc. Okay? Pero pag ginanahan naman, no, tuloy-tuloy naman. Next, when you do your research, it takes a lot of reading, no? But sometimes we tend to hoard a lot of paper that we think, no, we will read, when in fact we really don't need to read naman, or hindi naman talaga natin babasahin. Totoo po yan, no? Minsan gagamit pa tayo ng tools tulad ng Mendeley, no, just to manage our papers properly, etc. No? So it's part of writing your paper, no? So it's part of writing your paper. Sometimes I also feel it this way, no? Na ang dami kong paper na nilagay sa akin or dinownload para lang para masabi kong nag-research ako, pero in fact hindi ko naman siya nagagamit lahat. Okay? Now, if you will notice, meron ditong Sci-Hub, na tool na or website, no, or parang research database, no, na ginagamit ng isang researcher. Now, there's a common how do I tell this? Actually, Sci-Hub is illegal, no? It's an illegal tool to get your papers, no, to get a copy of your paper. Sabi ko nga, some papers are available are available in subscription journals, no, in subscription databases, may bayad, na nagiging available sa Sci-Hub. No? Hindi ko alam kung paano nila nagagawa yun. So, if you want to access that paper at may bayad siya, punta ka ng Sci-Hub. No? Yun nga lang in Sci-Hub, paiba-iba yan ng paiba-iba yan ng domain kasi nahuhuli siya because it's illegal. So, I advise you not to do this, no? Not to use this one. Pero if you really need to read that paper, so why not give it a try? Why not give it a try? Ako personally kasi I believe that knowledge should be shared freely. No? Knowledge should be shared freely. And if you like to keep if you like to disseminate your findings and get an honorarium for that, you present it somewhere else, no? You present it properly in the correct forum, no? So kanya-kanyang perspective. And also, when you try to write your research, sometimes you'll feel like a dog, right? Like this dog, no? You do not know what you're doing. Okay, so don't be afraid, no? Don't feel bad, no? But you're actually doing well if you're doing it, no? If you're doing it. Okay? So, nandito naman palagi ang mga teammates natin to critique on our work, no? To look on our paper, to help us guide and improve our paper, no? Even if, like for me, no? Even if I'm an experienced writer, experienced naman na kahit kaunti, I still have times na I don't know what I'm talking about, no? It's there's some time na hindi mo talaga magagawa or hindi mo siya matatapos. But then I always seek the help of my mentors. I always seek the help of other people and ask them to critique my paper and improve it, no? So if you're doing your paper, don't be afraid of part yan ng critique, no? Yung ma-reject ka, ma-critique ka, ma-examine yung paper mo. No, it's part of the research paper, but don't let this hamper your productivity in doing research. Okay? And also, when it comes to reviewer, no, there are some reviewers who are really bad, no, in reading or reviewing your paper. There was one. There's one experience that I had. There's one reviewer of my paper who rated my paper 0, no, in terms of their scale, no, in their publication tool. No, I felt bad during that time because I thought that my paper was worthless, no, and my work is worthless, no. Sometimes may mga papers din na may reviewers din na talagang makikipagtalo or makikipag-debate, no, sa iyong manuscript, no, para lang ma-prove yung point niya. Now, pwede kang mag-rebut, no, pwede kang sumagot, pwede mong mag-standby sa iyong decision, no, on your paper kasi papel mo yan. But then always remember that your paper is under the but how would I say this? Your paper is under the mercy of your reviewer. So better that you, kung ayaw talaga niyang mag-stand down sa kanyang content or sa kanyang assertion, sundin na lang natin, no? Para tapos na. Okay. Right, so that covers my discussion with different standards, no, in research writing, structure, and style. Now, before we go to our ethics in research, no, nag-prepare ako ng small game, no. I appreciate kanina ng game. So, gumawa ako rin ng small game bago tayo just to make sure na nandyan pa kayo at nakikinig kayo sa akin. So, stop share ko muna tong screen, then mag-share ako ng panibago. Right, so I hope that you're familiar with Kahoot, no? I hope you're familiar with Kahoot. So kasi kami mga teacher, may mga kanya-kanya kaming natutuklasan, ginagamit na pakulo kapag nagkaklase online, no? Kasi minsan din nakikinig ng estudyante. So para mabuhayan sila ng loob, no? Nagkakahoot kami. Or ito, so let's play Kahoot. So, alright, teka lang. Wait. Gusto ko may sound. Kasi nakakatuwa yung sound dito. Right, so share natin Kahoot. Okay. paki-open na po yung mga cellphone. Paki-join sa game. And let's have a talk at this game. So, sali po kayo, go to kahoot.io. Or pwede po kayo mag-download ng app. And enter right, so yan, pare na. Sana po isulat po ninyo yung pangalan nito. Isa po at yung mga places na sinibigit Gcash. Maroon po ito sa so stop with me. At po kayo. And then, Mario. Ayan, dua. Diba? Yan. So, join lang po kayo sa Kahoot, no? Using this meeting team. Right, may Rusty. Sige po, hintay na lang. Let's wait until ng 1 more minute, no? Kung may mga sasali pa. Let's wait for 1 more minute and baka manalo sila. Ma'am Hazel, please prepare daw your, meron daw siyang Gcash na ipadadala sa inyo. Just kidding siya. So yung mga questions po dito, patungkol po, no, sa mga na-discuss natin last week, no, and this early this afternoon, and also a bit of what we will discuss sa ethics in research. So, I think for the 1 minute is already up, so let's start. No, let's start. So this is RAS 101 Part 2. So get ready. So ayan. So the most commonly, sagot na po kayo. So ayan po. So false ang tamang sagot. Alright. The commonly used is scientific papers, no, or health papers. That's APA format, no? That's APA format. So later on makikita natin yung points. Nauna si Nyoan. So si GJ sumunod, yung nag-username ng Kahoot. Right. So yung 966, Ma'am Hazel, paki-take note, no? This is the Gcash daw po yung papadala ninyo. Okay. Okay, sige po. So punta po tayo sa next question. Next question is a multiple choice. Ang bibilis magsipag-answer. No? Alright. Sige po. Alright, so tama. The bird's eye view of your paper is your abstract. Okay? Or the summary of the whole study is your abstract. So, congratulations sa mga nakasagot ng tama. Again, nadaig na si Nyoan ni Kahoot. No? Sino man si Kahoot, meron na siyang 1,800 pesos. Okay, sige. So, thank you very much for answering that. Now, let's go to the next question. It's a true or false again question. Alright, so research ethics standards actually existed, no, reactively. Later on, I will discuss, no, parang pretest ko na ito. Later on, we will discuss why it existed only reactively, no? So, sa mga nakasagot, may 7 nakatama, and sila ay si Kahoot pa din, no? Nyowan has a highest answer streak of 3. Congratulations kay Nyowan. Pero tingnan natin, no, kapag nag-points later on sa game. Okay? So we now go to the next question, which is in multiple choice. Ang bibilis sumagot. All right, very good. So the most important, no, universal ethical principle when doing research is always making sure the respect for the human beings that you are dealing with, no, or yung mga ginagawa nyo ng research. Okay? So at least may mga 12 nang 12 na nakasagot. So tingnan natin sa points. So nangunguna pa rin si Kahoot at tumaas yung rank ni MGA, no? So congratulations. Now we go to the next question, which is a true or false question. Alright, so if we admit a patient who joined the drug trial because of the despair, no, of not being cured of the disease, it's actually not acceptable, no? Because the consent of the person is actually influenced by his or her despair, not his or her consent. Okay? So tignan po natin kung sino po ang tumama. Tignan natin ang podium finish. Third place, si GJ. Yan, with 3,265 points. And ating winner ay si Kahoot, no? So congratulations, no? So naka-perfect. May runners-up din tayo, si MGA at si... hindi ko na nabasa. Sorry. So congratulations. So Ma'am Hazel, alam mo na ang gagawin sa kanila. So take note of the amount na ma-receive. Okay, so thank you very much for joining our Kahoot game. That ends our short warm-up, no, for the next topic. Okay, so stop share ko na, then share ko ulit, no, this one. Right. Now, ethics in research is actually is actually a vast, no, a very broad topic, no. Lalo-lalo na sa human research, no? So yung ang alam kasi natin sa ethics in research, no, yung kadalasan nating alam ay yung plagiarism, fabrication, no, falsification of data, no? Yes, that's part, no, of ethics in research, but there are much more issues, there are much more usapin, no, when it comes to ethics in research, no? Lalong-lalo na when we do research in human beings, no? Which in the health sciences, no, in the health profession like us, no, it will really touch, no, our work in research. Now, sabi natin sa question kanina, there was one question that health research ethics were developed proactively. Well, sadly, no, yung mga standards ng ethical research lumabas lang as a reaction to several scandals, no? Historical scandals, no, in research. Nangunguna na po diyan yung Nazi experiments, no, during the World War II, because the Nazis, because of their hate, no, of the inferior race, no, yung mga Jews and their prisoners of war, pati na rin yung mga may disability, no. They conducted researches, no, to determine, no, data, okay, on prisoners of war. and to the Jews, yung mga preso nila. Okay? So that particular incident, kung napanood niyo po yung Schindler's List, makikita po ninyo doon yung mga experiments. Hindi ko na po isa-isahin. Marami pong experiment yan, no, na ginawa ang Nazi Germany, no? And after the war, no, in 1946, because of the atrocities committed by the Nazis, they were placed on trial in Nuremberg. Okay? So doon sa Nuremberg trial, after they have completed their trial, no, nagkaroon ng certain standards in doing research, no. Actually, di lang in research, in anything, no. No, mamaya i-discuss natin kung ano yung laman ng Nuremberg Code, no, which is the product of the Nuremberg trial. The next part is yung another scandal na most notable is yung Tuskegee clinical experiment which happened in the US, no. This is the longest running scandal, no, in research, longest running research scandal na the intention was good naman actually. The intention is good, no? Unlike the Nazi experiment na the intention is bad, no? Pero the Tuskegee clinical experiment is the intention is good, no? They wanted to know kung paano ba gagamutin or paano ba ang course of treatment or course of the disease ng syphilis, no? Yun nga lang, may element ng deception, no? At may element ng discrimination. So sa Tuskegee clinical experiment kasi, ang in-include lang nila syphilis among Black Americans, no? So there was discrimination on that part. And there was also deception because ang sinabi, ang pagkakaalam ng mga Black Americans sa Alabama, this is in Alabama, ang syphilis is a bad blood disease. No? Common term yun, bad blood, na hindi nagagamot. No? Tandaan, the clinical trial, the Tuskegee clinical experiment started from 1930 to 1972. During this time, meron na pong penicillin. No? May penicillin na yan, which can be used to treat syphilis during that time. Okay? So there was an element of deception na they told those who will join the clinical trial or the clinical experiment that there's no cure of their disease. So ang benefit na lang na makukuha ng mga Black American is yung ma-diagnose sila, magkaroon sila ng ma-diagnose sila, magkaroon sila ng regular monitoring ng condition nila, no? Na to the point, no, sa sobrang haba nito at sobrang laki ng distrust na ginawa na nag-cause, no, sa African American community, those who are living in Alabama right now, no, sa COVID-19 vaccine are actually hesitant to take the COVID-19 vaccine. No, nag-permeate yung distrust from the Tuskegee clinical experiment up to this point. No, you see that this was actually naibalita ito sa CNN recently, like a month ago. The Black Americans in Alabama are hesitant to take the COVID-19 vaccine because of the issue of your Tuskegee clinical experiment, no? Kasi ang pakiramdam nila, they feel like that they are being deceived, no, being discriminated, no, and the likes. So, ganun din ang nangyari sa Willowbrook hepatitis experiment, no? Yung this time mga bata naman ang na-involve, no? Tapos dito may deliberate course, no, of giving, no, the hepatitis B virus, no, dun sa mga pasyente. So nagko-cause ng harm. Okay? Also in the 1980s, the outbreak of HIV and AIDS, and as well as the conduct of drug trials in developing countries necessitated the need, no, for additional guidelines to guide, no, the drug trials in developing countries. Nagkaroon din ng multi-country registration ng drugs which necessitated the existence, no, of review bodies, no, ethical review bodies for research. No? Now, the product of the Nuremberg trial is yung Nuremberg Code na nag-emphasize ng need for voluntary consent, no, and respect for human rights of human participants. It means that we need to get the consent, no, voluntary consent, hindi pinuwersa ng sino mang tao, no, para siya ay maka-join or maisama mo sa research mo, no? So if you're planning to involve humans in your research study, then you need to get their consent, no? Next, in-emphasize din sa Nuremberg Code that you need to avoid unnecessary physical and mental suffering. You balance the risk and the benefit of your research. You withdraw the research, no? You allow the participants to review or to withdraw from the research if they perceive it to be harmful, no? And there should be proper design and prior information, and that you are qualified to do the research. Another part, no, or another important document that guides our research, although this is non-binding, but this is the basis. No? This is the basis of international research guidelines or development of guidelines internationally, is yung tinatawag nating Helsinki Declaration. Now, the Helsinki Declaration is actually a set of research standards developed specifically for medical profession. Kasi we cannot abandon the sick, we cannot abandon those who are suffering from illnesses to not do a research on them to improve the care for them. So sometimes kasi yung mga pasyenteng gagawa natin ng research hindi capable of giving the consent, no? Minsan walang malay, minsan wala sa tamang pag-iisip, minsan mga bata, no? We have to get their consent, no? But then they're not valid, no? They're not capable of giving consent. So lumabas yung konsepto ng proxy consent sa Declaration of Helsinki, no? So dito na pumapasok yung pwede ka nang humingi ng consent from their guardians, no? From their significant others, no? That's your proxy consent. Tapos papasok din dito yung konsepto ng pagbibigay ng standards of care. Dahil nga lalo na, no, kung ang study mo ay mag-eksperimento sa paraan ng paggamot sa isang pasyente, you must ensure that this patient will still receive the standard of care, no? Para lang hindi siya mapahamak, kasi hindi ka sigurado kung yung gamot mo ba or yung research mo or yung intervention mo talagang makakapagbigay ng tamang care, no? And also pumapasok din dito yung therapeutic or non-therapeutic research, pati rin yung placebo control, no? And also pumapasok din in-espouse din dito yung review of the study by an independent ethics committee, no? It also gives special protection or gives emphasis on the special protection for vulnerable subjects, no? Now, when we say vulnerable subjects, hindi lang po ito yung mga may sakit, no? Later on, we will describe the different vulnerabilities or vulnerable people na pwedeng maapektuhan ng inyong research. Another good document, no, na magga-guide in our ethics in research is yung International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Nakasulat po sa Article 7 doon. No one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment. In particular, no one shall be subjected without his free consent to medical or scientific experimentation. Another important document is yung tinatawag na Belmont Report, no? The Belmont Report sprung out because of the scandals. Yan, yung mga scandals na in research, no? So, yan yung in response doon sa Tuskegee, sa Willow Brook, no? So, in the Belmont Report, they identified 3 basic ethical principles, no? Yun ay yung respect for persons, the beneficence, no? And the justice. Okay? Yung respect for human dignity. So yan nga, laging inuuna sa dignidad ng tao. Okay? So kapag pinag-experimentuhan sila, we should respect their autonomy, no? Identify if they are vulnerable and provide protection kung sila ay vulnerable. Being able to keep the matters to yourself, no, yung data nila to yourself, okay, and being faithful, no, fidelity, okay, being faithful to what you have promised to your participants, to your research subjects, and also the principle of beneficence, no, or having a positive duty, and also the principle of justice. Now, dinagdag ko lang po ito, no, hindi naman part ng ethical principle ng Belmont Report, yung duty of non-maleficence. But for us doctors or in the healthcare professions, like for us in the nursing profession, yung duty of non-maleficence is also part of our pledge, no, sa mga doctors sa Hippocratic Oath, kaming mga nurses in the Nightingale Pledge, no. Lalo na specifically sa amin nakasulat, we will not administer whatever is deleterious. No? So whatever will harm our patient, we should not administer. So that espouses the duty of non-maleficence. Okay. The CIOMS WHO also developed the International Conference on Harmonization, pati yung mga guidelines that will guide research at the international level. So this is a set of guidelines, no, yung ICH-GCP kung tawagin. If you have encountered this, no, this is an international guidelines for harmonization of technical requirements for registration of pharmaceutical drugs. No? So the objective of this ICH-GCP is to provide unified standard for mutual acceptance of clinical data, and that the standard of the design, the conduct, the performance, the monitoring, the auditing, the recording, analysis, and reporting of clinical trials that provides assurance of credible data and protect your subject. No? Here in the Philippines, we have the Philippine National Health Research System, which composes of your governing council, your regulatory authorities, your FDA, your FREB, no? Pati na rin po yung mga health research institutions. No? Now, it also delineates, no, the responsibility of institutional review of research, no, in terms of ethics, no, at the institutional level. Now, just my last slide, no, I'd like to focus here the types of vulnerabilities, no, na kapag when we do our research, no. Now, there are 6 types, okay, 6 types of vulnerabilities that exist, no, when we do our research. Now, it can be a cognitive vulnerability, meaning hindi maintindihan nung participant yung research mo. Tapos, dahil it sounds so technical, your research sounds so scholarly, no, napapayag mo yung respondent. Well, in fact, pumayag lang siya kasi wala siyang maintindihan para matapos na lang yung pinag-uusapan ninyo. So, that's cognitive vulnerability, hindi naintindihan, no? So the better way to one good example muna. One good example here is yung sa issue ni Apo Wang-od at saka ni NAS Academy, no? Yung pinapirma niya si Apo Wang-od na hindi naman niya naintindihan kung ano yung pinirmahan. Okay? So in that particular instance, that's a cognitive vulnerability. So in itself, Apo Wang-od is a vulnerable person, and we do research, we must protect, no, that vulnerable person. And to resolve, no, to remedy the cognitive vulnerability, we have to make sure that our consent, no, our explanation is within their level of understanding. We must make our consent, no, our explanation in plain language. In plain language. Okay? So that is your cognitive vulnerability. Now, another vulnerability is your juridic vulnerability, no, or the influence, no, of authority in that influences, no, or the authority influences your your consent gathering process. For example, no, yung boss mo gumagawa ng research. Okay? Now, dahil ikaw, ang research niya ay tungkol sa mga empleyado niya, so bilang empleyado, kinuha ka niyang respondent. No? Sasagot ka sa research niya. No? Ikaw bilang empleyado, natatakot ka siyempre na mapagalitan, no, mabad shot sa boss mo, no? So pumayag ka na sumali sa research kahit labag sa loob mo. So that's juridic vulnerability. So yung mga empleyado, no, ng isang institusyon, magiging vulnerable sila kapag sila mismo ay hininga ng consent by persons with authority over them. So hindi valid yung consent na kinuha mo. So that's juridic vulnerability. Authority influences the consent gathering process, no? And also another example will be your prisoners, no? Yung mga prisoners, wala naman silang choice kundi sumunod sa mga warden nila. So if you ask as a researcher, if you ask the help of a warden to get the consent of the prisoners, then these prisoners are vulnerable people in your subject, and you must do, no, some remedy to protect them from harm, no? And that is the remedy for juridic vulnerability is to insulate your participants, no, from the authority. Ilalayo mo siya sa authority kapag sila ay nagbibigay ng consent. So you wouldn't ask, no, for consent, no, with the help of the warden in the case of the prisoners, and from the boss in the case of the employees. So you yourself should get the consent from them, or pwede rin naman na yung mga some people na they consider as a support person or the likes. Okay? Another type of vulnerability is yung tinatawag na differential, no? Differential vulnerability, wherein this time the social influence, no, or yung social relationship ninyo with the respondent, with the participant, with the research subject influences their consent, no, sa pagsali sa inyong research. Example, no, ikaw bilang researchers, let's say for example in one team, no, gumawa ka ng research and it involves people, no, tapos kinuha mo yung kaibigan mo from other department, no, na maging respondent mo. Sabi mo, friend, pakisagutan naman to, no, pakisama naman, di ba? Pakisama naman, sagutan mo na to please para matapos na yung aming research, no. So that is how differential vulnerability plays, no? Nagkakaroon ka ng social influence mo bilang friend doon as a friend, no? Ay ika out of context. As a friend doon sa respondent mo, pasasagutin mo siya, that's already a differential vulnerability. Hindi valid yung consent. So therefore, to remedy this, eliminate mo yung social influence, no? You ask another friend, you ask another person, no, to get the consent for you, and not you, no, as a friend, no, to get the consent of another person. Okay? Another vulnerability is yung medical vulnerability, no? Now, medical vulnerability, as per example natin kanina, ito yung AIDS patient na sumali, no, sa drug trial kasi wala na siyang kasi ano na siya desperate na siya na hindi gagaling, no? Kaya nga nagda-drug trial kasi hindi mo alam kung effective ba o hindi. Baka nga mamaya may harm pa doon sa drug trial na gagawin mo. So kung napapayag mo yung HIV patient na yun dahil sa reason na siya ay desperate, no? Then that is considered as a medical vulnerability. The consent will not be valid if that is the reason why the person consented to your study. So the best way to get the consent of these people, no, who are at risk, no, of medical vulnerability is to discuss the fairness of arrangement. I-explain nyo sa kanila, walang chance na gagaling ka sa gamot na ito. This is still in its experimental stage. And are you weak? And this might harm you. No? At mamaya nga hindi makatulong sa iyo. So you have to make sure that this is explained to your subject. Okay? The fairness of arrangement should be discussed to the participant. No? So the allocational, on the other hand, is the vulnerability that concerns economic advantage. No? So, for example, no, you offer something, no, in exchange for one person to join your study. Let's say, for example, you will join a study because merong cash prize, merong raffle, merong pangkabuhayan, may 10,000 peso allowance, something like that, no? Something like that. Then that's but if you join that particular study because of that reason, that is an example of allocational vulnerability. You did not join because gusto mo. You join kasi gusto mong kumita, no? Okay? So if you are offering too much, no, for your research, then chances are you will attract people who are at risk of allocational vulnerability. So the best way to remedy this is itapat mo sa standards of living yung ibibigay mong stipend, allowance doon sa respondent mo. So let's say for example, isang oras lang naman siyang maaabala, no? Yung isang oras lang na nawala sa kanya ang babayaran mo. No? So that's allocational, that's setting the standards of living for that person. So kung siya ay namasahe, kung siya ay pumunta, inabala mo, you have to pay for that as well. Okay? And lastly, infrastructural, which refers to the policies, no, of that affects your data collection process. The best way to remedy that is to assure the quality or through quality assurance. So this one, here are some guidelines, no, on on when doing research on human subjects. Number one, dapat the research that you're doing is aimed, no, towards achieving what is good for the person. No? Dapat applied lang. When you do research on human subjects, it's not to just tickle your fancy, no? Wag lang ganon. You do research because you want to help them improve their lives. The second is when you do experimentation, it should be done first on animals or guinea pigs, no? Because we don't want to harm, no, introduce harm, no, kung meron man, unnecessary harm sa tao. Next, the risk of suffering or injury must be proportionate to the good that we have to gain from the research, and that the subject should be selected so that risk and benefits would not fall unequally to one group in the society. Kaya nga, doon sa syphilis, sa Tuskegee syphilis trial, no, medyo unethical siya kasi yung risk, no, or yung harm nag-fall lang doon sa mga black people. So that's considered unethical in this particular guideline. And that also we need to protect the personal integrity of the person, and that we need to free and informed consent. And at any time, kung gusto mag-withdraw ng tao sa inyong research, no, dapat papayagan ninyo. No? Hindi pwede yung touch move. No? Hindi pwede yung touch move. Okay? Now, in psychological experimentation, dapat we have to make sure that we are working with, no, rather than on the human subject. So, merong element of participation dapat kapag psychological experimentation. And also, we avoid, no, breaking down of human trust. Okay? We have to make sure that we always tell the truth. We do not lie, we do not manipulate, no? And we explain everything to them. And as well as yung financial implication, kailangan dapat ikaw na researcher ang may responsibilidad doon. Okay, so that's all for my topic for this afternoon. And thank you very much for being with me and for listening to me. No? So if you want to learn more about me, no, pwede po kayong, you can visit my ResearchGate profile. No? It's my name, Ryan Rigat Bunton. You can view that there. And also, help me also reach, no? Kung gusto niyo pong makapanood ng content, no, ng mga lectures about research, statistics, and healthcare ethics, you can also follow me on my YouTube channel. Subscribe po kayo. Help me reach 1K no, subscribers. No? De, joke lang. No? Pwede nyo pong gamitin yung materials ko doon. No? You can use my materials there. It's for everyone's perusal. Ang pakiusap ko lang po, huwag nyo lang pong gawing chipmunk yung boses ko. No? Huwag nyo pong alisin yung mukha ko. Tsaka huwag nyo lang pong i-manipulate yung boses. No? Para lang po hindi po katawa-tawa yung itsura ko. Okay? So yun lamang po. No? So thank you very much everyone for listening, and I hope you learned from me for today, no? For the last session. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.